Okay, so thank you for joining my presentation. Today I'll give you a tour of recently added feature in OCaml. So I will cover 5.3 to 5.4 and more feature that will come in 5.5. So this presentation does not aim to be exhaustive, but rather to present a new feature that can be used on daily basis. So let's go with the language feature section. So with OCaml 5.3, there is a new dedicated syntax for deep effect handler. So here I defined a simple effect random that take an int and a helper function that just propagate this effect. And we can see that we can just simply define an handler with a match with expression and simply prefix the handler branch with the effect keyword, and we can capture the continuation and be able to properly resume it. So before 5.3, you had to use this tedious syntax to define an effect handler. So it brings more simplicity. There is, may I stop if there is question on effect handler? Just.
Yes, thank you very much. I look at the chat, but I have a question.
Mhm.
Uh, do you know if there is any plan to support shallow effect handlers, or is just for deep effect handlers?
I don't know, but since the effect keyword was dedicated to deep effect handler, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, my question is mostly uh, if instead of using effect.deep.continue, I use effect.shallow.continue, does it
Ah,
change the sense of the handler or not?
I didn't try, but I guess so. I guess the syntax is only for deep effect handler,
Okay,
so maybe in future.
thank you very much. If someone
No
has
problem.
any question, no. Okay, let's go to the next section. Thanks.
So next, OCaml 5.4 bring labeled tuple. So it's basically you can now optionally labeled any tuple file. So for that, we need to prefix it with a tilde, like labeled parameter in function. And this feature is similar to standard ML anonymous record. And we can see this version as a structurally typed variant of OCaml record. So I will show you an example. Here we define a compare coordinate function without defining a dedicated type for coordinate. So you can see the signature inferred by the type checker. So it's mostly useful when you have a record, a tuple that take many members and they all have the same type. So it's a cool feature to disambiguate in the name when the type information is not enough. And we can partially label a tuple. So here I add a label for latitude and longitude, but not for the city name. And we can see that the type checker handle perfectly it. And it's important to know that ordering matter in type checking. So if I define two tuple with field reversed, we can see that the type checker rejects it. And we can remark that it's not similar to standard ML anonymous tuple in this sense. Uh, I have finished with labeled tuple. If there are any question.
Thanks a lot. I have a question.
Mhm,
In the first slip slide, you told us that it was similar to SML anonymous record. But
mhm.
here, since for example we see that order matters, it looks like there is no structural subtyping capabilities on label. So does it
Yeah.
work if, for example, I accept to have two labels in
Mhm.
a function, and I give a function and I give a parameter that takes three labels with an additional variance. So for example, lat long and deepness, for example.
The type checker currently reject function where labeled tuple where there is no enough information to determine the entire type.
Mhm.
So, for instance, you cannot take a labeled tuple with some unknown label.
Yeah. Mhm.
But there is a proposal in OCaml RFC to add support for projection that work like subtyping, I guess. So
Cool. And as an user, so someone asked, can you have the same label like tilde x 5 virgule comma tilde x5?
I don't think so. I guess that the label must be unique, but I don't have the information. Sorry.
Since it was introduced in 5.4, you can already try it in your top level, but I hope it will not work.
Yeah,
Um,
I could check. Uh, 5.3. Hop.
for
What? I don't know if I have installed Utop. Yeah,
you
I
can
don't have
use
installed.
OCaml.
Yeah, absolutely. Hop. So if I define something like that, I guess, yeah,
Ah,
data
nice.
checker rejected.
Hopefully. And I have another question. Sorry.
Mhm. No problem.
Do you already use it for personal project? Because for me, uh, I'm not particularly fond about label top because I think that if I need to have name, I have records or object.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I know that there is some yeah, some concrete um, hope in introducing labeled tuples because I know that objects are not very efficient because of the dynamic vtable. But usually, since we can just define type that are not exported in the MLI, I don't see a lot of sense to have that. So do you have any use case for label
Yeah,
tuple?
yeah. Actually, I have a use case here.
Ah,
Uh,
thanks. I let you continue your presentation.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's sometimes you need to define a complex accumulator type to use it in list.left, for instance. And here, I guess it's useful because you don't have to introduce a type declaration for only an accumulator training. And we can see that the type checker inherit as follows. So with this anonymous tuple type here. And yeah, I guess in this case, it's useful. But yeah, I think it's better to use it in implementation and hide it in the interface since it's allow it's not very readable from my point of view. So I guess that we must use anonymous tuple in implementation and expose a proper a normal record type in interface. But this is my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Next, there is a new brand type since OCaml 5.4. There is a new polymorphic type IRA.t, which can be used to define an immutable array. So you can use the same syntax as normal array, but since it's the same syntax as normal array, you need to add a type annotation to disambiguate between them. And we can see an example of use here. I define simply a range of smiley. And you can see that here I use the bracketed syntax, but to disambiguate, I have to add an annotation. So yes, so it's useful for API purpose to use IRA because we express in the type the fact that this array is immutable. And the IRA module API is mostly the same as the array1 without obviously function that perform a mutation. And it's important to know that currently the Camel compiler does not take advantage of this immutability property to perform some optimization, but maybe in the future. And I finish for this section on immutable array if you have some question.
Nice. Thank you very much. Um, so before expressing the question of Ali, Arthur Welling taught us that Oxcaml allowed to raise the same label, but then that will be ambiguous with the label projection, which is a RFC work in
Yeah,
progress.
okay.
Um, and so Ali asked, what happens if you mutate when iterating with incrementation, for example?
You don't have access to function for mutating IRA, so it couldn't happen. It wouldn't
And
happen.
do you have something in mind, Ali, so you can, for example, share some pseudocode? Or... if you get the address, can you mutate it? Ah, it's a low-level question. Probably not.
Yeah, I guess there is no runtime safety for this feature. So if you get the address, I guess that you could mutate it normally.
Yes, and Paul Elliott give a nice trick. If you want to mutate stuff, you can create an immutable array of mutable reference to simulate a mutable array.
Yeah,
But at least,
absolutely.
since there is a more obvious version to that, you can just not use the type ascription to ERA, and it will be mutable. But yes, if there is no more question, the stage is yours.
So I guess I could move to the next feature. Atomic Record 5, record field, which is a feature bring with OCaml 5.4. And in any record, you can now use the new atomic PPX attribute to mark the record field as atomic. So it means that read and write operation performed with the classic syntax for record access and record setting is now compiled to atomic operation. So for instance, here, if I define a getter function and a set function, they are both atomic. But if I want to define a more complex function, like the very complex one, incrementation function, I must use the new atomic.lock module. So here I have to write this attribute with the record name and the record field. And it will be replaced by a value of atomic.lot.t, which is mostly the same as atomic API. And we can wonder why this new weird interface, because the new atomic.lock module will be used to implement later atomic array, maybe. So it's just a kind of, we put all common stuff in atomic.lock array, on top atomic.lock, sorry. And this feature allows to bypass a memory indirection. So it can be useful in context of concurrent data structure and all this stuff. Uh, performant concurrent safe queue or concurrent safe stack, for instance. Mm. And I guess I have finished with this feature. If there is any question.
Thanks. There is no question in the chat for the moment, but I have a question.
Mhm.
Sorry. I'm pretty dumb and I know nothing about indirection, boxing, and allocation. So I don't know what are atomics. So can you give us a very small explanation about atomic, not just in the context of field?
Atomic prevent us to mutate. Uh, Actually, it's a bit complex. If you use atomic, uh, you have the guarantee that all functions that access this atomic will not be interrupted by another function that can access this value at the same time or mutate it at the same time. So it prevents compiler optimization and compiler reordering of instruction also. So if you mutate an atomics, you have the guarantee that anybody else will cannot mutate this reference at the same time. Uh, I don't know if I have
Yeah,
responded to your question.
it was an excellent answer. Thank you very much. There is two questions. So the
Mhm.
first one is from Arthur, Arthur W, and he asked, was there some experiments to benchmark the expected improvement, for example, in Saturn log-free data structure or similar?
I don't know about such experimentation, but I think it could be interesting. But yeah, it only remove one direction, one pointer to the atomic value. Now the atomic field can be inlined. But yes, I guess it wouldn't save many performance since you have to have very aggressive to access and setting to have an impact, I guess. So so yes. Uh,
Nice. Before expressing the question of Paul Elliott, Benjamin give a very small straightforward definition of atomic, which is atomic is like a ref for multicore. This is like a mutable record field or for multicore.
yeah,
And yeah, it's a
simply. It's a much simpler definition.
so Polynot asks if there is a plan to use a keyword like the mutable field keyword instead of attribute. That will be a breaking change, maybe.
Yeah, actually, it was a very complex discussion because in pair, in the pull request for this feature, they will they they present multiple syntax form, uh, like the atomic keyword in place of mutable one, but for past compatibility reason, it's the atomic PPX syntax that has been chosen. But yeah, it's a bit hacky, I guess, but we have this feature, so we are happy.
Thanks a lot. Ah, there's another question from Arthur Welling,
Mhm.
which is, does ODOC display the atomic annotation?
I don't know for the moment, but
No.
okay,
Cornelia answer no.
okay.
But it could be nice. There is the same question about external and stuff like that. Yes. So go ahead, Timeo.
Uh, Recent version of OCaml bring a lot of standard library improvement. So for instance, there is a new module for dealing with pair since OCaml 5.4 that provide facilities for working on tuple that contain only two elements. So there is functional builder, swap function, iter, map, and so on. So it's an NG addition to the standard library. There is a new data structure in standard library that is priority queue. You can now instance a priority queue providing min, max, that can be generic or not, but that are imperative priority queue. And they can be associated using a functor application, the common mechanism used in OCaml standard library for map and set. Here is a simple example of a functor application to be able to construct a in priority queue. And we can see that there is a whole ND function to access a minimal element, pop it, etc. There is also a new,
I have a small question.
yeah.
You said that okay, it used the order type from the same order type from set and map.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
It's a comparable signature with a type T and a compare function only.
Thank you.
No problem. But for instantiate generic priority queue, the require signature is a bit larger. But yeah, this require to for the type to be hashable, I guess, something like that. So the rep module, which provide more explicit aliases for function that perform operation on memory representation of value. So you can see the signature here. And this module was added to anticipate the possible depreciation of polymorphic comparison because they are considered as bad style, notably by Jens Ritt and, and some personality in the OCaml community. That's it for the rep module, which is not very interesting. There is finally let binding operator in the result module. Oops. So in a dedicated submodule syntax called syntax. So you have let star, which correspond to result.bind, result.bind, let plus, which correspond to result.map, and n star and n plus for Cartesian product. So it's very cool. You don't have to define all these operators in each of your project. So very nice. And now we'll talk about the future. OCaml dot 5.5, which will add a lot of feature, a lot of cool type system feature. And OCaml dot 5.5 is expected in June, and a first alpha version is already available on OPAM if you want to test it and play with it. One of the most interesting feature of 5.5 is to allow more structured item in local lead binding. So structure item is a name for all the syntactic construction that can uh, be present at the top level of a module. So for instance, type declaration, submodule declaration, and class declaration, and all this stuff. So we can now declare locally all these syntactic items, except for let include, which doesn't really make sense since we have let open, which already include the scope of a module inside the following expression. And this means that we can now declare type directly within the body of a function without much syntactic noise. So here I just define a local type and next an extensible type that I extend within the let binding. So cool, it's a cool feature. Can even define class definition inside a let binding and a virtual class, a class type, etc., etc. All of this is allowed. And we can now even declare external declaration inside the let binding. So it's cool to have a better control, finite grain about the scope control. And we can see this new syntax only as a syntactic sugar for this form. So previously, before OCaml 5.5, we can emulate this feature by opening an anonymous module where we can declare type, class, and so on inside it. So it's a cool quality of life feature uh, that can be very interesting. I don't know if there are questions. And
Thanks a lot. Looks awesome. I have two questions.
Mhm.
The first one is it will be probably rich with a lot of onshoring issue. So, for example, let's imagine that I try to use my local type outside of funit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, I have a dedicated slide for, for that. Uh, but
nice.
yeah, if you try to return an element that is defined inside the function, obviously you will get escaping scope error.
Yeah.
So the compiler is able to check it.
So
So
cool. And the second question, and after that I will read the question or affirmation from Quickawake, is since we have the ability to declare local types,
mhm,
uh, and you say some slide ago that you should probably not export label tuples in your API.
mhm.
Does it still make sense to use label type since you can just declare local record
Yeah,
to manage
yeah,
your accumulator?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit redundant, I think. But yeah, it's a remove an advantage for a labeled tupled, and it seems like a problem in the OCaml improvement specification improvement, which seems not very coherent. But yes, uh,
Nice, cool. And fifth question was let external. Isn't it early for April Fool's jokes?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but sometimes you just use it once, just for the identity tricks, for example, and I guess it can be useful. But yeah, uh, it seems like it's not a major improvement to OCaml, but more
Thanks.
like a quality of life feature. Uh, OCaml 5.5 bring modular explicit, which is a bit complex name which mean allowing dependent arrow containing a module. So in other words, it means that OCaml now accept a function that take a first class module and return a value of a type inside it. So it means that we can have now the following signature, where the type T may depend on the type of M. So for instance, T could be replaced by M.T or M.W, etc. And this type system improvement will improve expressiveness and relax some needed type annotation in certain contexts. So for instance, if I assume the following code snippet, it will fail with a rather cryptic error before OCaml 5.5. So you can see that it should work, but now we have this cryptic error indicating that yeah, it's not inferable because the type inference does not work very well in the context of first-class module. So with modular explicit, without modular explicit, we need to use locally abstract type and give the type checker the information manually that t.t is equal to a, and you want to return a and take a in argument. But with modular explicit, we can just write this function like that without further noise. So it's very cool. And we can give a more complex example which involves parameterized type. So the previous trick with locally abstract type no longer work in presence of parameterized type. So for instance, if I want to define a module type monad with a classic return and bind operation, and write a function that take a monad in argument and take a function and return the correct implementation over the monad M. If I try to write this with OCaml before modular explicit, we see that the type checker just rejects it without much details. So it's a bit frustrating. So those days are finally gone. We can now write it simply as the intuition will write it. And we can see that the following implementation has the expected signature. So it's a very cool feature that can be useful when you want to generate a few functions and without to have the verbosity of functor stuff, and functor are now as contaminating stuff because when you make a functor, you sometimes you will be apply a lot of functor and it can be very messy. So I guess first class module give us a bit much of simplicity and yeah, syntactic noise. So it's always good. Maybe there is some question about this part. And yeah,
Yes. Oh,
just
sorry.
a final remark. Modular explicit mark a first step toward modular implicit, which will give us the ability to have a similar mechanism as Haskell type classes. So the instance of a given module could now be founded without pass it explicitly in argument. So it should come in in a future release of OCaml. We don't know exactly when, but yeah, it should come.
So there was a complicated question from Ali, and he said that does DLT constructor accept such expression. So, for example, yeah, giving a module dependent function to a DLT parameters. And I can try to answer. I think that in your example, Ali, no, because it takes directly a module, so it's a first class module, since it can be instantiated at the value level and not only as a function parameter. So I don't think it's possible. But it should be maybe if your JDT take a function as an argument, it can be complicated. It can be probably worse, but we should try. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I must admit that I don't try this kind of example, but yeah, it's an interesting question.
But there is a difference between first class module and module dependent function. Is the fact that module should appear as a function parameter and need to be totally static. But thanks. Is there any other question related to module dependent function?
I guess I could continue.
Will they get rid of the order type in the stdlib? No.
Yeah, yeah. With modular implicit, I think that a redesign of the standard library could be imagined, but yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Thanks.
So next, there is a new dedicated external type syntax. So quoted from the OCaml manual, external type introduce type of value that are defined outside the OCaml language because they are populated from the IFIFI. So for instance, type that are defined in C but not on the OCaml side. So before external type syntax, you just have to declare an abstract type and you don't have the information that the type is declared in system. And now we can just explicitly write it. So it can be useful for capturing built-in type as string or array. And yeah, it's some it's like an anecdotic feature. It's not a very important feature, but it's always good. I don't know if there are questions on external type syntax.
Not for the moment.
I guess I could continue.
Yes.
So following the standard library improvement started from 5.2, there is a lot of string function added to the stdlib. Thank Daniel Bensley. We are now have a split first, a replace last, and so on. So it's very cool. We don't need some additional library like AirString and stuff like that. And there is new facilities like hashtable, find and replace, or find and remove. And there is also late binding operator available for option type, as in the result module. But in the result module, it's since 5.4. For option, it's since 5.5. There is also a new formatting function that now accept an heterogeneous list as argument. So instead of write your integer, your float, and your string directly just after, we can now pass it as a heterogeneous list. And all the similar derived function were also added to format, like L a printf to print a standard error an heterogeneous list. And that's it for this presentation. Thank you
Okay.
for listening to me.
We still have a question
Yeah.
from Kutlawak,
Mhm.
and he was asking if there is a plan to mark external types values as non-managed by the garbage collector.
Hmm. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sorry.
Yes, and Amber react about the fact that, oh yes, heterogeneous list, which is a very complicated encoding, but there is a formation about GADTs on the formation Tarides repository that gives some example about heterogeneous list.
Yeah, it's based on GIDT and it overrides the normal constructor of list, so it's cool. It provides an ND syntax.
And so Paul Elliott asked why let binding for result but not for option, but it was added to for option in 5.5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when released after a result. Yeah, it's a lack of coherence, but we are finally have them. So
Yes, and as Arthur said, format lprintf was contributed by a former Tarides intern.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't mention it, but yeah.
So
And also, I didn't mention the feature, but there is a contribution from Tarides, from Ulysse, for upstreaming polymorphic function type. But the feature is a bit complex since we need to distinguish the three kind of polymorphism that exist in OCaml: the inference variable, the locally abstract type, and the totally polymorphic uh, annotation. But yeah, I don't want to explain it badly. So maybe Ulysse, you want to
yes, no
say some
worry.
word.
The goal was to give a subset of new feature added in OCaml, and I hope that Ulysse will have the time to give a tech talk about polymorphic type parameter. I have a question. Looking at all of this addition, do you have a most loved new feature and a less loved new feature?
Yeah. Uh, I think uh, I think the most helping feature for writing a real OCaml code is modular explicit, because it allows a more lot of explicitness, and it extends the language with construction that should be in OCaml, I guess. And yeah, I think modular explicit is the most interesting feature. And for the less, I don't really use the external type, but I guess for library author or binding author, it could be interesting, but not very from my point of view. But and you, Xavier, what are your favorite feature from this tour?
It's probably a module dependent function, obviously, and probably the way that we can use arbitrary structure item in let,
Yeah,
and we don't need to use that open struct that I use a
yeah.
lot. So thanks a lot for the extremely cool presentation. I will stop the recording now.
Oh, perfect.